Get that butt sucked. I don't know what that means.
That butt sucked? Like your full butt?
I get
That's a big mouth?
It's a big mouth. It's a big mouth.
My butt. Okay.
So, and I think in an era right now where the very notion of being a woman is something that feels often under attack, it felt even more exciting for us to be able to talk about how sex and politics intertwine. So the topic that we have today is very exciting. We do want to introduce our panel first so you guys get to know them and we can bring them into the convo. So let's please first introduce the global columnist from dailymail.com. She was once called the biggest bitch in Britain, although she's been very kind to me personally. So excited to have her. Please give it up for Katie Hopkins. She's in the center of it.
She's the comedian. She's also a co-creator, or I should say the co-creator and the head writer of this little show called The Daily Show.
I never heard of it.
Get it? Because it's a popular show, so that was it. She actually is the founder of Lady Parts Justice League, which I've spent some time looking up. And as a woman that has reproductive organs, it's a great organization, and I personally thank you for all the hard work you do. Mm-hmm. Hi.
Hi.
Let's give it up for Liz Winstead, everybody.
And finally, she is one of our favorite stand-ups who I believe is going to be actually performing some stand-up at the convention this weekend. You guys have to check her out. She's hilarious. She's a producer and a writer as well, with credits from The Daily Show and Letterman and a ton of other projects as well. Please give it up for Jenna Friedman. So yes, we're so excited to have these three women today, especially because I think they all really embody what it means to be a lady freak and have different opinions on where we fit right now in the political world. So let's introduce the topic. The topic today, sex, presidents, and handmaids. There was no reason for me to be that excited about it.
I mean, they didn't seem that excited about it.
No, you guys did not.
Everyone's like, and what else? Where's the shirts?
Who's seen Handmaid's Tale? Anybody out there? Okay, good. So there's some people who haven't, right? If you haven't, let's see those people.
So a real quick thing about Handmaid's Tale.
Okay, good,
it's on Hulu, you stream it, you get binge, you watch it, and then you're like, where'd my day go? But basically, it stars Elizabeth Moss, and it's dystopian and supposed to be futuristic, but it kind of feels like it could be 2020. And it's about this class system where every woman that's still able to have a child is enslaved in a sense and forced to, can we curse?
Yeah, fuck it.
All right. And forced to fuck these men, some attractive, some horrible assholes.
Some attractive, though. That Joseph Fiennes.
But basically, against their will, to help create families and children for women who can't have them. But it's horrible and well shot, I will say.
Beautiful.
But too close to home. And so watching this is kind of where we got this idea of is this, this dystopian, futuristic idea? Or is this something that is very true and up and coming?
Yeah, and what we want to get into is the idea of are we being liberal sensationalists to watch Handmaid's Tale and think that could happen? Or is it potentially real? So I want to address the first question, rather direct the first question to Katie. Katie, you mentioned, now you grew up in England, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I grew up in England and I was educated by nuns, and I can tell you right now that nuns are some of the most evil women on the planet.
I will affirm that.
They used to tie up my left hand behind my back in order to teach me to be a better girl and write with my right hand.
Are you a left-handed
That's
woman?
in my lifetime, and I am only 42 even though I look 63. And I am still left-handed because I would not be seen over by those Catholic nuns.
I love it. So, Katie, you told us something very interesting, that you actually studied the text of Margaret Atwood's original book, Handmaid's Tale, in school.
I did.
Growing up. So years ago, you read this book. Tell us now how it feels. Did it at the time feel dystopian or potentially realistic for our lifetime?
When I was at college, all those years ago, when the world was still in black and white, I studied Handmaid's Tale for my English A-level, so when I was 18. And there's a phrase that still sticks with me, and it still sticks with me today, which is this idea of freedom from or freedom to. This idea that in the Handmaid's Tale, in the world that they lived in, these women may not have had any freedom to, and what they failed to accept, acknowledge, or enjoy at times, although some did, was the freedom from accountability, the freedom from being under attack, the freedom from kind of being predated upon by other men, the freedom from. So I think in our society today we have a load of freedom to, and sometimes I wonder whether we forget about freedom from.
Interesting. Jenna, I feel like you're maybe just reacting to the lynching that's happening.
Oh,
in
no,
the
there's
other
a
room. I
Bon
don't know
Jovi
what that
concert
is.
back there, so if you got your tickets, it's a 2-for-1.
I don't know if either of you have any thoughts, Liz and Jenna as well, to the idea of freedom to or freedom from.
I don't, but I think we can talk about The Handmaid's Tale actually with our current toxic political climate / war on women removed. Even if Hillary were president at this point, I think we could talk about America being a place where working women really can't thrive. And what's happening, you're seeing it right now in the tech industry. Companies are paying for women to freeze their eggs, to delay motherhood, and we're hearing more about surrogates. And I could predict in 20 years, if we're still a country, we'll have a sort of economic Handmaid's Tale situation that might not even be related to the political climate, but just poor working women being surrogates for women who are career professionals and can't take time off to actually have children.
You know who's going to be doing that? The Mexican women, because we are very fertile. And I will say, that's one thing that I found inconsistent with The Handmaid's Tale. We're the Mexican ladies. We're known for being fertile. I just think there should have been more Mexican women represented as surrogates. Anyway. It's okay. So looking at it then from more of an economic perspective, it feels more realistic rather than just ideological, let's say.
Well, we don't really have paid leave in our country. I mean, the UK is further along than we are with that. So yeah.
Although I'm not a fan of maternity leave at all. So I'm completely different to you. I had both my early pregnancies in the States where we had 6 weeks unpaid leave at that time. Back in the UK now we get like a decade off and you can rock back up if you feel like it and then you can ask to go part-time. It drives me crazy as an employer. I've had to pay for that and I can tell you it's pretty painful. So I'm actually a massive advocate for the American system of 6 weeks unpaid leave. Get me.
So six weeks feels sufficient for you?
Yeah, it felt plenty for me. Like, small children are quite ugly, quite irritating, and need a hell of a lot of your time. So the quicker you can get back to work, I can tell you, it's a much better lifestyle than sitting there kind of dribbling milk out of your nipples, smelling of old milk, and generally feeling knackered. I say get back to work as quickly as you can. And maternity leave, I think, is there to squash women rather than make us achieve our full potential.
Liz, what are your thoughts on this? I was watching your face the whole time.
As an employer as well, I somehow managed to have women take the time and men take the time that they need to get their families up and going because there's the internet and there's many ways to help complement family maternity leave, and I think to thrust people into a framework that is not going to work for everyone. Postpartum depression is real and some people need longer time. Some people don't have the advantage.
If you stay home too long, you get depressed.
Or not. I mean, if that's an interesting thing to say, fine, but no. I think that you can make things work with every single circumstance, and I don't believe that a structured way to force upon somebody who's trying to have a family and trying to have a career should be imposed. I just don't.
Let's talk about the other side of sex as it relates to The Handmaid's Tale.
The inside?
The inside. Well, the pleasure side of it. Because I think, it's fascinating that within this conversation already, we immediately took it in the direction of the procreation side of sex and what the ramifications of procreative sex are. And I wonder if that's just because we are reared to think that sex should be for procreation and it's inherent within us. And if there's something in our programming of the way that we think about sex as it relates to women that has to be more of a balance with not just talking about sex as it relates to parenting, but also sex strictly for pleasure. We've talked about this quite a bit, and obviously we mentioned it up top that sex is something we firmly believe should be for pleasure when it comes to women. And thankfully, in an era where birth control is present and something that women can have easy access to now.
So far, hopefully that keeps.
We are allowed to theoretically live in a world where sex can be for pleasure. But I want to get your guys' perspectives on that side of it too. Do you think that women are brought up knowing that sex should feel good and it's okay if that's it? And do you think that there are elements of the way that people are taught sex education at a younger age that can be changed to shift that ideology?
I think it's generational. I'm 15 years older than you, Katie, And so for me, it was like, I was brought up Catholic also, so sex was not talked about. I literally thought the couch was a vibrator. Like at one point, I was like, this is awesome. I'm gonna be on the couch, this is amazing. Nobody ever taught me about, and I got pregnant the first time I ever had sex when I was in high school because I literally was so mind-fucked by the Catholic Church that I made a deal with myself where I literally said, if I have sex and use birth control, that's committing 2 sins. So I decided to take the risk and have the one sin, and it would be dumb to have the sin be take birth control and not be fucking. So, right? I mean, that's just like illogical. So I think that disarming people, and especially sexual women, girls, does a disservice and is part of the patriarchy's plan. Totally.
Whoa. You got pregnant the first time you had sex?
First time.
See, and I thought I was the one who had to sniff the stuff and got pregnant, but you are more that way than me.
Literally, it was crazy. I could not believe it. And I put it off and put it off and put it off. Like classic Catholic, no, we'll do everything but.
Right.
But. So.
Has there been a lot of butt stuff in
No,
your past?
no.
Okay. There's still time.
I'm not a butt person. I think people are terrific, and I'm glad that people love butt stuff. I think it's great. It's not for me. I have other
My
things
girlfriend
to do.
has, not my girlfriend, but my friend who's a girlfriend, she has anal sex once a year at Christmas as a present to her husband. And so every year, because I have 3 small kids, they're 12 and they're 8 and they're 11, whatever they are, I don't know, I lose track. But anywho, every year at Christmas time when we get the Advent calendar out, I always look at the Advent calendar, and as my children count down the days, all I can think of is that my friend is one day closer to having anal sex. And they're getting the little chocolate out, and they're going, and I'm going, ooh.
Gosh, talk about a stocking stuffer. I would be like, no. Whenever I've attempted it a few times. Where I feel the penis near the butt, and I'm just like, no. And it closes up to a point that it's almost like I don't have an anus.
Yeah.
So
I'm the other way. I think mine's more like the Mersey Tunnel. Like you can ship in and out of there, it's no problem.
Oh, that's interesting.
Jenna, thoughts on anal, since I guess we're there at this point in the conversation?
I'm like, is this why they don't take us seriously?
Very good point.
I don't know, but I just swallowed my chair.
Man, where do we go from this?
I mean, it just
Like, is this too
happened.
freaky for the ladies at the end? Is it too lady freak? Did we go to?
No, this is not. This is peak lady freak, but it's not too lady freak. It's fine that we're there at this point. Okay, let's get back to. God, I'm very taken by this conversation. Okay, so we really haven't been conclusive about whether or not we feel like the government sees sexuality as something, or sex rather, as something that's a pleasurable act for women. Feels like they kind of don't. I mean, I don't know.
I think they see it as how the New Testament sees it or something. Like that's really our government at this point. It's men who have no knowledge of women or thought to even ask women what they experience legislating our bodies. And I'm a comedian, but it's really hard to make this funny. It's terrifying, and the thing about paid leave that's so important is it's important not just for women, but for children. I am not a mother, full disclosure.
Go you. Stay that way. It's much better.
But I want to have the choice, and I think it's also important for, children to have access to their mothers and fathers at such a scary, early, fragile age so that they don't grow up to become Republicans,
I think when we think about sexuality, I think my children were blessed to be relieved of me when they were young. Otherwise, they might have turned out into complete narcissists and psychopaths like I am. But when we talk about politicians and whether they embrace women and women's sexuality, I look at my politicians in the UK, and we've got Theresa May, who looks like she would be even more bored or could potentially bore people in a library scenario, like she is the dullest woman on the planet. And then you've got Merkel. Now, Merkel, I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe it because she looks like shit at all times, but she actually travels with someone with her, not you per se, who is specially tasked to make her look shit at all times so that they focus on her policy matters. She is scary, that woman. She could possibly murder both her parents in cold blood in the middle of the night and still turn up at 7 a.m. in a pantsuit in Brussels, ready to discuss European issues. That's what she's like. She's so far from being sexual, is what kind of my point.
Okay,
These
2
women are
questions.
so
She has
far.
a make under person,
She-
somebody
yeah.
who
She
uglies her
specifically
up?
makes under so that you will focus on her
I'm curious
hugely.
what
that's
she
the thing,
looks
but
like.
see,
Why are we
yeah.
having this conversation?
'Cause we
about
brought
what
it
Angela
up.
Merkel looks like. She fucking bought out Hamburg so that piece of shit couldn't sleep overnight in her country. I love her.
You love Merkel.
I love her.
I hate her.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Shocking.
Okay.
Well, I think going back to just Jenna's point, and I guess what we're discussing right now, the idea that as women, we are being policed in a sense. I was looking up, so Liz has this amazing organization called I want to make sure I'm getting it right, the Lady Parks Justice League. And I was, you know, kind of researching you because it's 2017 and I stalk people. And this organization is amazing because I'm very close to the idea of reproductive rights and getting to choose. I know personally I had a situation in college that's like, I shouldn't feel weird to talk about, but I do, and it's like, I think as a woman, it's your choice, it's your body, but I'm looking through all of this wonderful literature on your website, and it just very recently re-triggered. I was like, wait a minute, as women, this is so basic. We really aren't treated the same. It's our bodies.
Yeah.
But someone is telling me how to handle my body. Again, basic, that's the end of the statement. I just was blown away when I really thought about that there are these big organizations and things that we're still trying to do to combat all the bullshit that's going on right now.
And on top of that, they're doing it under the guise of being pro-life, which is so blatantly hypocritical. These are people who don't want pregnant women to have maternity care. They're a party that does not want millions, 20 millions of Americans to have health care, and we're letting them call themselves pro-life, and that is the biggest injustice. I think we just need to not let them get away with it.
No, Jen, thank you for sharing that, first of all. I think that sometimes we maybe as women feel like our sentiments or our anecdotes are basic, but the reality is we don't get to empathize with other people or relate to other people until we share those stories. So I think it's brave and delightful, and I think that, you know, the hope is that the more that we talk about sexuality, the more that people will feel comfortable coming forward with all these types of anecdotes. I do want to get to your organization, Liz. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Because we've done our research, but I think everybody out there should know exactly what it's about.
Sure. So we are comics and musicians and performers who decided that economic justice starts with reproductive access, and so it's not centered at all in our political conversations. When you have your own Democratic Party saying, oh, you know, maybe abortion is a place we can find common ground, or it's a wedge issue, it's like, I'm sorry, it's not a wedge issue. If someone can't get pregnant, they can't get sort of pregnant, so they shouldn't have sort of options to be able to make the choice they need to make. So we make videos that expose all these crazy laws, and then we travel around the country, and we just came back from a 2-month tour where we went to 17 clinics in 18 cities, and we do a couple of things. We do a big comedy show that just gets people in the tent to have a good time, and then we bring up an abortion provider and some activists in the town who are trying to get people rallied around the issue and what's happening, and then they tell the community what they need. And then we go to a clinic and we paint fences and we do their gardening and we do their lawn work, because in cities like Little Rock and Jackson, Mississippi and Birmingham, nobody will come and help them, and nobody will come and even provide the services they want to pay for, because they provide abortion care for low-income women, and mostly women of color. And so unless we center it, and unless we say, I demand 100% my own personal autonomy to get on that path and succeed or fail on my own terms, and if we don't prioritize that as a society, we're fucked. So
Well,
that's
thank you
why
for
we
that
do it.
service that you do. I think that's beautiful to hear and imperative. And to bring it to the topic of Handmaid's Tale, because I do think there's a correlation here. One thing that Jen and I were talking about was when you see the imagery and see this kind of dystopian world that the Handmaid's Tale projects, do you think that it gives Republicans the wrong idea? Do you think, in other words, what you are battling against with your organization is something that is furthered by this quote-unquote fantasy world that we're watching on Hulu, if Republicans even watch Hulu? I don't even know if Steve Bannon is watching Handmaid's Tale before
You
he
think
goes
it's
to
like
bed.
a Pinterest board for Mike Pence?
Exactly. Yeah, And that's a question for all of you ladies, but it's kind of stemmed from Liz talking about where we are right now and the need for your organization as it is.
Well, Margaret Atwood, I don't want to quote her, but I think I read somewhere when she was writing The Handmaid's Tale, it's not science fiction. Everything in the book is actually pulled from things that have already happened in different points in our history, which I think is really critical when you're talking about this book, because we look at what's happening now, and a year and a half ago we never would have thought that we would be in this position where we have like a neurosyphilitic tyrant as like the president of our country. But we're here now, and now Germany is a bastion of like freedom and democracy, and we're like, how did that happen? Well, we're watching it happen. And so I think that just, when you look at The Handmaid's Tale, it gives it a new element of relevance, because this could happen anywhere.
But do you think that the people do you think that Trump and his cohorts look at this and get ideas? I mean, I think that's probably liberal sensationalism, but I don't know, maybe it's not. Let's talk about it.
The Fortnite domino tracker says it'll be here in 10.
I'm gonna interject, because I'm a massive Trump fan. I did see Trump winning in the election. I went on CNN and told them he would win the election. I think the failure of the Democrats and all of Clinton fans is the fact that women consistently see themselves as victims. I don't identify with that at all. I don't see myself as a victim at all. I see myself as equal on the same terms as men. I don't want special
Trump
treatment.
doesn't see you as that.
And I think the problem is that you guys expect special treatment too often. I went to the pussy marches.
I'm sorry.
I saw you waving these banners saying, my pussy's made of steel. So what? I can fit a Coke can in my pussy sideways. That doesn't mean I can have effective policies for that.
I feel like you should see a gynecologist for that, but...
Who is...
It's just if she talks like fast and long enough, we'll all just forget what we're doing.
No, I didn't forget. I'm just trying to understand why it's special rights to not have forced fucking pregnancy. Why is that a special right?
Yeah, and I would be with you on abortion. That's not an issue that I would be in any way supporting Republicans on.
But they're fucking talking about it constantly. I put out a newsletter every single day with no less than 8 stories of how these things are happening in all these state legislatures across the country, when literally there's states passing laws that say clinics have to cremate every single abortion and bury it. That's insane.
And it's not even just like how you feel about Trump, it's how he sees you. He sees you as a womb until you're like 45, and then he doesn't see you, you're invisible. But
I don't know about that, actually. He said that I was a respected columnist, and I very much like that. He sees me, man. He sees me for what I am.
If you have
for sure.
He doesn't
see me as a womb. I think I look as if I'm drier than the Sahara. I don't think I look like a womb to any man. I would be very wary of me if I was a man.
Okay, Katie, I have a lot. I want to get back to the idea of you thinking, Katie, that women are considering ourselves to be victims because we are trying to strive for equality.
Because we don't support Trump. It's like,
no.
That doesn't mean I'm a victim because I don't support somebody who like...
No, not at all. That wouldn't be my argument, because that would be really rubbish as an argument. I think my argument was just I watched Clinton, I watched her campaign, and she went...
Why are we still talking
We're
about
not Hillary Clinton.
Are you talking about Trump?
But he's president, she's not. So,
I'm
why...
talking about why she lost, which the reason she lost is she appealed only to minorities. If you felt like you were a victim, she never even had a single
she did
policy
win the
to
popular vote, so she clearly wasn't just appealing to minorities.
But you're talking about Clinton now.
Because you brought it up,
okay.
and we're on a
Can we
panel
talk about women and equality? Because I think that's more
Yeah,
important
I think we should.
of those two people.
I will say that I don't believe that striving for equality is victimization at all. I think it's something that women have been battling against for the entire duration of history.
I think it's too much special treatment. I think women ask for special treatment. They confuse equal with the word special. That's
What
the
special
confusion.
treatment do women want? I would love to. I'm just so curious. What is the special thing that I want? And I don't understand. Do I want extra boobs? Do I want extra what extra treatment?
Boobs,
but what extra treatment are we asking for?
So, do you agree with all female shortlists for jobs? That would be special treatment to me. I would never want a job that was given to me from an all-female shortlist, not ever. I want to be the best person for that job. I want to be recruited on merit, paid on performance, rewarded on results, not because if I have some random chromosome. I'm certainly not interested in being in an all-female shortlist.
In a vacuum, affirmative action, so you're talking affirmative action, basically.
A what?
Affirmative action is
Yeah,
the term we
well,
use here.
Okay, affirmative action, all-female shortlist is pretty clear.
Okay,
It's not
so...
Swahili. What? It's not Swahili.
Well, affirmative action, well, that was sassy. Affirmative action is primarily in regards to minority representation and ethnic representation specifically, just to clarify.
All-female shortlists, they exist. Are we now saying that there are no all-female shortlists for jobs?
No, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I just want to clarify
it exists. I think that is special treatment. Women do not need to be given favors to get a job. That's pathetic.
I think it is a slippery slope, my friend, to start to say that we can't make shortlists for more representation for women because then you're not going to advocate for more representation for Hispanics
anybody,
and
for any
African-Americans
demographic,
and
then it
LGBTQ
will always be
community.
the white man's list, and the
Exactly.
white man will get on the list. I mean, I don't mean to let's go march in the streets. It's time, but we could,
Yeah.
because it's not just about women. It's about
leveling the playing field for everyone.
leveling the playing field. Thank you, Jenna. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
it's
for all
not just women. At some point, a lot of these issues.
The playing field is already leveled. What you're asking for is to only have women on the pitch. That's ridiculous.
This is from somebody who exists
I
in a
love that
culture
we're
has a
getting.
class system.
I do want to say I love that you guys are getting heated. We will have some questions and answers at some point at the end of the panel, so hold those in because I want to get your guys' perspective. I want to bring this back to the topic of sexuality. I know equality is imperative here. Katie, I think we disagree with you, and that's fine. That's fine. This is why we live in the world that we live in today. Let's talk about something that I want to bring this up, and I've talked to you about this. It's something I am passionate about. I think, I know we don't want to talk too much about Hillary. It's not about the what ifs of that campaign and what would happen if we lived in a Clinton administration, part 2. But I feel, and again, this comes from the world of like the lady freak, let's talk about how sex and politics interact. Hillary is somebody who went through a very public period of infidelity. And I've always felt like she never really addressed it and never really talked about what it was like to experience that within the confines of her marriage. And I feel like that set her back a little bit as far as her relatability with other women goes. And I feel like it set the idea of what we do at Lady Freak back a little bit too, to somehow disassociate your sexuality from your political agenda. So I'd like to bring that issue up to you guys. And Hillary can be the launching pad for how you guys feel. Oh, thank you so much. I want to use her example as her anecdote rather as an example, but I think it's more broad than just Hillary's indiscretions.
I think
Or Bill's indiscretions.
I think it's generational. I think now we are in a culture of oversharing, and also victim blaming and bullying is so at the forefront of our culture. Just look at how Monica was treated when it happened to now she's become this like TED Talk superstar about anti-bullying. But I also think we don't ask Mark Sanford about his affairs. We don't ask any male politicians about the affairs that they have. And then third, I think it's really dangerous to be talking about Hillary because clearly the Republicans, it's the only thing that they can hold on to like validate Trump. There's nothing else. So like you brought up this person that is now obsolete because we're literally in a situation where Republicans are siding with Putin over our democracy, and then you're still bringing up Hillary. So I think I understand this thing that we're talking about, but I don't think
area. Yeah.
I don't think we should pin it on her. I think
Of
it's really
course.
just a generational thing, and also I don't want to apologize for her, but she's been in the thick of it for like 30 years. Mm-hmm. I would imagine it would be hard for her to go out on a limb and talk about something so personal,
Right.
with positive effects.
Back to the idea of it being a generational thing. Do you think that as a younger generation, a millennial generation, let's say, that we are being told it's okay to talk about these kinds of things publicly? Like, I know amongst my friends, we talk about pretty much everything, and I wonder if maybe that's, again, it's...
I don't think it was about her not talking about it, which I completely agree with you. She didn't talk about it, she didn't help talk about it or embrace it or help other women in any way. I think the biggest disappointment for me was that she carried on with that man after he was unfaithful to her, and she carried on running around chewing at his heels like a little puppy dog. Personally, for me, if someone's going to be unfaithful, they can walk out that door and never come back again, and I do not want to share a house with them, whether it's white or not. My own husband, my first husband, you'll notice that I'm numbering them now, I have a second husband, but I call him my current husband so that he knows his place and feels at risk at all times and doesn't sleep in any way safely, because I would not want that. And I have aspirations for a third husband who may be richer, wealthier, and come from somewhere altogether more fabulous than England. But my first husband, going back, I should never have married him. It was like marrying myself. Also, he looks like a really crap politician we have called Ian Duncan Smith, who's basically bald and fat. Never marry somebody who's bald and fat. He ran away.
Get bald and fat?
I'm going to get to the topic. I am. He ran away with the secretary when she spent rather too much time behind his desk rather than in front of it. And he left me actually in the maternity ward with my second child to him. And I got a taxi home. No, it's fine. It's fine. But my point is, whether he had come back or not, and he never did again, is that I would never have allowed him to come back into my life, because I think women should be stronger than that.
Okay.
And I think it made Hillary Clinton really weak.
Okay,
and I think that's
Katie,
why women felt let down by her. That's what I feel.
I'm less interested in talking about our relative moral judgment of how she handled it, and more about whether or not she should have talked about that in general.
Well, she shouldn't have talked about it. She should have got him out. I mean, that's the point. What's she talking about?
She's talking about an experience that millions of women have gone through, and I think it would be nice to hear
It's
a
strange,
voice.
but anything I say about Clinton, we're not supposed to be talking about Clinton, but your opinions on Clinton, we're allowed to talk about.
I still don't think we should be talking about it. I don't think we should be talking about our personal lives.
So that's the opinion that I want to hear. Whether it's that or whether it's the opposite side, should we be talking about our personal lives as professional women?
No, I mean, because men aren't.
Well, that's the thing. I don't go into an audition and have to, and this is just an example, and be like, hi, Jen Bartels, 5'7", side profile. And you know what I mean? And then have to list, like, I had a rough time in college, I'll tell you why. I enjoyed cocaine a little too much and fucked around a lot of men. I don't know why that's, whatever that is, these trials and tribulations to make me more relatable, so, you get me when I know men don't have to do that.
Right.
When it's just this given that, men are men, boys are boys. But women, wear a short skirt, not too short. Unless you look great, then wear that short skirt, or don't wear sweatpants. Well, it goes back to equality,
right,
or lack thereof, and our judgment and how we look at people when they're men or women or people of color. Right. And it just seems that we keep going back to this idea that there's men and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that. I think it's something that I struggle with, and maybe it's
white men and then everybody else.
Fair. I think as somebody who tends to kind of be a little bit of an oversharer, I wonder if that's a detriment, I guess, or is it something that's making me potentially more relatable, especially to younger women who might also be going through that. I don't know if Liz, you have any thoughts on that matter.
I mean, I think if we blanket it in oversharing, I guess I ask myself, if I'm going to reveal things about myself on a personal level, I want to have thought it through enough to where there will be some introspection to it. Somebody can take home, somebody can ask me questions. When you become somebody who publicly talks about reproductive rights and my own abortion, that opens the door for me, or that's an invitation for somebody who can come and say to me, you know what, I've never had that conversation before, and you've said that, could I have that conversation with you? And I accept that responsibility of it, right? If I can't offer any wisdom to my oversharing, God, I just hate butt fucking, that is not really the wisdom. That is just me telling you something that you just don't need to visualize, probably. But, so I think that for me, what is the intention? We're a nation of people who fucking talk too much, don't have a lot to say. We have 17 cable news channels full of people who have very little to say and say it constantly. And so I think we live in a culture where people do not take a moment to say, why am I talking?
Mm-hmm. And that you think is not gendered, right? That's kind of on both sides of the...
100%. That's everybody.
And I think it's fine if you want to talk about anything, if you want to talk about your personal life or your professional life, but I think as women we are expected to appear more empathetic, to divulge things. Our personal lives are sifted through in a way men's aren't.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like you have to, if you're going to be silent, you have to defend why you're being silent. It's not enough to just be up to just withhold a little bit.
And I think talking about Hillary and her mistakes and yada yada is a distraction from where we are right now, where women who miscarry are being forced in Texas and Indiana to bury the fetuses. the people making these laws aren't even asking women who've had miscarriages what it feels like. They don't even understand how expensive it's going to be. And even if you're pro-life, a woman who knows that she'll have to pay $50,000 for a fetus funeral or whatever that is, might not seek medical care when she needs it and might die as a result. So we're just not talking about the things we should be talking about, but we're legislating them. And it's dangerous.
Okay, so let's talk about why that is the case. Because obviously I think, we're kind of dancing around and have somewhat explicitly discussed the notion of representation, which, Katie, I know you disagree with this. I believe that we need to have equality and equal representation, especially in fucking government. Because it's something that
feel to us as students that we're still being policed. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about kind of teaching that sexism at a young age, even from the lens of being a feminist or being having like a feminist structure.
You mean the idea of single-sex education, sort of the relative values, or
even just the way like we're policed on our skirt length, or we're policed on that. We're all 13 years old, or up to like 13 to 17 years old, and yet that's already being kind of taught to us.
Right. Anybody else here? I went to an all-girl Catholic school. I don't know if anybody else.
I went to mixed Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to wear a kilt.
You had to wear kilt?
Yeah, I had to sew up the seam as well in case we flashed our pants, which were also regulation polyester green to the boys at the boys' school. Yeah, really. We had to name our pants as well.
You didn't name them?
Oh, like knickers. What do you call them? These things?
Underwear?
Underwear. Yeah, that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
To go back to your question real quick, so you go to an all-girls school,
Yes.
and so when you say you're I'm just curious, there's certain studies or you're being policed in a certain way about your attire and about what it is to be a woman or what you should do?
So like our skirts have to be 3 inches above the knee, and teachers pull out index cards and measure them to make
Those
sure
teachers
that
have got issues.
Yeah.
Tell them. Say, Katie Hopkins says, you have got issues, sweetie. You need a hobby and you need to get out more. If you are putting out an index card,
But to address your question, I think what we're trying to get at basically is that there is something kind of subversively holding us down from an early age, holding women down from an early age with these kinds of rules that are intended, I guess, to make us regulated ladies of society. So yeah, I mean, I think that we are essentially curating the vision of what a woman should be from a very young age in schools like this.
But I also think it's generational, like we kind of discussed, because for a long time it was looked at as protective. In a way, we're protecting you, because if no one can see the goodies, then no one can get the goodies. So that's your school mantra, right? I'm sure it is.
No one can see the goodies.
Love it.
maybe just wear no knickers under your skirt. So like they're like pulling out the index card, you're like, you don't know, I got my foof out under here.
That is how you flush out yeast infections.
I would say do that.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday.
I don't really get it.
Can you make it a hula skirt? Could you shred it?
I wish.
Like it's the right length, but it's like literally shredded. And then
Good idea.
that's not helpful.
I want to add something on the topic of same-sex education. I think that there's a lot of policing that goes on that's needless, and I think that I think forces women to, if there's going to be creativity, when you find your individuality, it takes a lot longer. There's a lot of repression, a lot of sexual repression. I was a virgin until my early 20s. Thank you, St. Agnes Academy School for Girls in Houston, Texas. But I will also say one of the values of it, and this is why I find myself personally torn when it comes to the notion of same-sex education, is that every role that is filled in a co-ed educational system is filled by girls in that same system. So for example, there's always the jock, there's always the class president, there's always the class clown, there's always the horse slut. I was not that. I have since become that. All those prototypes, which many of those are filled by men in a co-ed education, are filled by women. So, for example, I'm not 100% positive I would have identified as early an age as I did that I wanted to go into comedy had it not been for Colleen Jackson, freshman year, popular girl who was like, "Oh, Grace is funny," and then all the mean girl cohorts around her were like, "Yeah, Grace is really funny. We knew that. We all knew that." And I think that is something that somebody had to be the class clown, so it's something that came up in my life at an early age. I'm grateful for same-sex education to that extent. So I guess I offer that as a positivity, a sort of silver lining to what you're going through. What grade are you in?
I'm going to be a senior.
Oh, congratulations. That's very exciting. So you've been through it for a number of years. Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of value that can come from that experience. I know this got a little kumbaya, but fuck it, we need that. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for your question, by the way. Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing great. Except the whole, I'm here with my mom and all the butt sex stuff. I was so embarrassed. She used to be a nun.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Mom's heard it
I was
before.
like, oh my God, Mom, we can leave. It's okay. But speaking of my mom, interesting story, and it will lead to my question. She was 18 years old when she met JFK, and he promptly invited her to his hotel room. Oh, she's so embarrassed. Oh no, there's a real story here. I probably have it all wrong.
No one knows that she's in the third row in the center. It's fine.
I love where this is going.
My question is I'll get to the question. So my question is whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, we have this history of male sexual exploits, the office of the presidency being used in a way that, if it was your friend that was the girl involved, or your mom, or, you'd be like, ugh, and then people go, oh, well, it's my party, so it's okay. Isn't it kind of, I'm not going to answer the question for you, but is it okay, is it not okay for the office of the president, for the president to be a sexual predator?
It's not just
okay, for sure. Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought this up.
It seems to be every industry. A couple of us are comedians, so we know how it goes. I think it's about power and abuse of power, and I think that's something that we need to still figure out how to unpack, because no, it's not okay for people in a work environment who are at the lower rungs, be they male or female, to be intimidated or threatened or propositioned by people in power. So as long as we have these discussions, I think even people who are in power, who are here, or who are employers and are listening to this conversation, hopefully they'll think twice before they proposition, even in a possibly consensual way, people below them who are not in position of power.
I'd rather be grabbed by the pussy than have a pussy for president. Just saying.
That groan was palpable.
All right. On that note, let's keep going with the questions.
Wait, Liz, did you have a quick thought on that, or just continuing the groan?
Wait, I just need to think about that for a second. I'd rather be sexually assaulted than have a woman in the White House?
Well, now we have both, so the pussy and the white. Anyway.
I see where we're going. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Josh.
Hi, Josh.
I just want to apologize on behalf of all men for how bad your first husband hurt you. Because your first husband must have hurt you so bad.
Can you say that again?
I said your first husband must have hurt you so bad to make you hate women so much. I'm also an employer. I'm also an employer.
Okay, what did you say first?
No, let me talk.
You want to apologize?
Why can't anyone talk?
You want to apologize? No, I just want to hear what you said. You want to apologize for all men.
I want to apologize on behalf of men for how bad your first husband hurt you, because we're not all mean.
You speak for all men. Good to know. Thank you.
Well, you seem to speak for all assholes.
Hey, we talked about my asshole earlier.
I know, and
it's big, and you should be afraid.
Okay,
Josh is caressing that mic like he's about to drop a mixtape right now.
So what?
I love it.
What I wanted to say is that I'm an employer.
Is he your boyfriend?
Listen.
Does he belong to you?
Let him talk, Josh.
Is he your boyfriend, though?
Can someone fucking talk? Besides you,
You're not talking. I'm just not listening. You talk, though.
Josh, go ahead.
You talk.
I'm an employer. As an employer.
Well done.
What is wrong with you?
Nothing.
Just let someone talk.
I'm doing crowd noises.
Josh, go ahead. Go ahead, Josh.
I'm an employer.
Yes, sir.
As an employer, I have hired many people. I have a policy where I need to hire females now because they do a far better job in moments of crisis, making good decisions, making calm, rational decisions. I also see how poorly the women that I hire are treated by men everywhere we go. Everywhere we go, they are asked if they even work for the company. They are asked, they are catcalled at, they're whistled at, they're called hun, they're called sugar. So as a white male who has had every privilege possible in America, I can say that you are fully wrong, and you need to figure out what happened to you to make you hate women so much, because I am a man and I can't fight this fight for you. But you're setting women back, and you're actually doing exactly what the rich men in power need you to do, which is distract people from the fact that they're trying to steal all of the money and resources from everyone in the world, and that's all they want, and they don't care about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. Let's get one more question in. Let's get one more question.
I actually have a question.
Yes, sir. Hi. What's your name?
Question, or is it a speech?
So for those of you who have been in a writer's room or on the staff of shows, can you talk about bringing women and diversity into those rooms and how that's going?
Yeah, it's going at snail's pace, but it's fucking going. Get ready. It is going. I think that we are seeing things change, and I think that there are a lot of platforms and moments like this for us to come together as women who have worked in television before.
I run a writer's room right now that's queers, women, people of color, and it's really fun to be able to write comedy that comes from different experiential places. It's really good to be like, I know, like my background, I'm from Minnesota, so it's a whole lot of white people all the time. And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, this is a funny joke, and like there'll be people on my team who'll be like, brown people don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So how do we, and then we figure out a way to make it universally funny that like I'm not compromising a premise I like. I'm like saying, oh, I want to reach more people. And so to be able to diversify writers' rooms so that you can have like really edgy, great shit that is going to be talking to the experiences of a whole bunch of different people, it's really great and it's really easy. And when you hear people say shit like, I just don't know where we can find any black women to be writers. I'm like, have you tried asking on Facebook? Because that's what I did. So it's like bullshit. There's so many talented people.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm envious, and that's wonderful. And I think, yes, we do. We're not there yet by any means, because I just wrote and was in a show a while ago, and I was the only woman on the show, and I was very thankful for the opportunity and the job and to write on this show as well. But we have a long way to go. I got to see and hear things from people who don't even realize what and how they're saying, especially in regards to people of color and women. And to be the only woman in a room of 7 to 10 men and try to be like, well, women wouldn't, well, maybe we can make the hoe not a hoe. Okay.
Can I ask this question? What's the makeup of the executive staff on that show? Was it mostly men who were picking the writers and stuff?
Oh, men.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why when we go back to what you said about representation and where people need to be, that is exactly why we need to fucking nurture people because I thought about those things. People don't think about those things. So if we just keep having a bunch of the same kind of people with the same life experiences telling the same jokes, they're going to hire the same people. It's going to be terrible for you because they're going to look at your experience like it's alien when you're fucking half the population. That is exactly why you have a flawed theory about this.
I'll say also as a Mexican woman, I think I'm possibly the only woman of color on the panel, definitely. The intersectionality element
white.
I'm so sorry. Liz and I representing people of color.
I'm sorry. Can you please recognize my whiteness because it's not happening enough?
It is. It is
Hashtag white matters. White, whitey.
It is something that is very much on the forefront of my agenda as well, and I'm so thrilled to see so many women of color here too, because I think we all recognize that we need to be seen in a way that we are not being represented yet. So I agree with Jen. It's happening.
But we're also in Hollywood right now, and this is like a platform, and we'll pass the whatever. So if you are hiring a writer's room, hopefully this panel has helped you realize, like, let's diversify our writers' rooms, and that creates new wonderful content that more people can align and enjoy on TV or any sort of media outlet. So do it. That's the end of the statement.
And enjoy the fucking. You gotta bring it back to the fucking.
Oh, enjoy fucking.
Okay,
Yeah, so write us.
Do we? I think we're done time-wise, or do we have? Okay. Unfortunately, that we had to. That's our final question. Guys, this has been a delightful, lively conversation. Please give it up for our panelists here. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for coming, y'all.
Thank you to PolitiCon for having us, and my beautiful co-host, Jen Bartels.
I'm Grace Parra, everybody. Thank you so much.
Enjoy
Have a great
the
weekend.
event. Bye, guys.